Mhm.
Welcome, everyone, to Empowering Community for Women. And I am here with the lovely Kim De Salva from Trinidad. I love her accent. My name is Meryl Hayton, and I'm the host of this group. And we are bringing to you today collaborative discussions with Kim. And I'm just going to read a little bit. She's going to talk about top tips to keep your love burning in your relationship. Who doesn't want that? And I'm going to share her bio. Kim helps moms bring the romance and spark back into their relationship like it was when they first started dating. Her clients work with her to feel loved and reconnected with their partners. She has a background in lecturing Latin American history and Spanish, and also enjoys working with women in cross-cultural relationships or with those who are using Spanish as a tool to connect with family and community members. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. So yes, that's me in a nutshell.
So tell me how you got into doing what you're doing.
All right. Well, through my work with a lot of ladies who were learning Spanish language, and those were ladies who were in relationships with partners from Spanish-speaking backgrounds or cultures. And one of the things that would constantly come up was that they were learning the language to, connect. They always use the word connect with their partners better, or to kind of show that they appreciated and valued the culture of their extended family. And a lot of times they would say, there were language barriers or cultural barriers that were coming up. And as we would dig underneath all of that, many times those barriers actually were normal male-female relationship issues that were simply being exacerbated by the language and culture differences. And so I think stemming from that and just having the same discussions over and over again was one of the reasons why I then switched as well. I should say switch, because I still do a lot of work in language and culture, but I also started working on the relationship side. And, from my personal experience as well, my husband and I, we've been together for 22 years. We've been married for 13, and it's been a long ride. And we've had some interesting experiences over the years. We also were always very interested in kind of figuring out the dynamics of what makes relationships work. So we would sign up for courses here and there, and we'd always kind of go through what we were being taught, or which parts we agreed with, which parts we didn't agree with, while we kind of figured out our own way to navigate our relationship. And I guess, and I think too, being together for so long, most of our friends now, they don't know us individually. Most of our friends now, they've known us as a couple.
Right.
So every so often people will come and they'd ask their questions about how, you guys never seem to fight. I'm like, oh, yes, we do. I'm just not going to have an argument in front of you, And it was that sort of thing. And then again, as we got older and then seeing, our friends who would split up. And very often when we would talk to one or the other, and there were issues that I always say, and Meryl, you may have experienced this as well. Sometimes we can't really coach our friends. We can be a supportive ear, but they're not really coming to us for that type of guidance. As much as as much as we can help them, and sometimes they want us to, the dynamic, it doesn't always work. And it was just,
no, it doesn't.
And I was just seeing some of these things, over and over again. And it just, I think all of those experiences culminated in, no, I want to do something about this, because ultimately, one of the things that I even started my original business with was I wanted to help families. I wanted to help families stay together. I wanted to help families be in healthy relationships. I wanted to help families, strive towards the ideal that the parents wanted for them. So it all just kind of came full circle, and that's what I've been doing now for, oh gosh, I mean, really and truly, I've probably been doing it for about 5 years in total, but really, really focusing in the last year and a half
Mhm.
on specific relationship topics.
Beautiful. So what did you have to share with us today? These top tips.
All right. So
Keep the
top
fire burning.
to keep the fire burning. All right. So exactly, right? Well, then let's start with some of the fun ones. Oh my gosh. Well, Meryl did tell you I was from Trinidad and I closed my windows and
Oh.
now I forgot to put the AC on though. I thought I
Oh.
did, but I don't think I don't think it went on properly. Anyway, so let's talk about a couple of things. One of the areas I like to start with is date your mate. Okay. And it's catchy, but more than being catchy, it really does come back to that idea of get out of your complacency zone, bring back some of that mystery, some of that excitement, some of that fun from the beginning. So when I say date your mate and I talk about, like how things were when you first started dating, we're never going to get right back to how we were when we first started dating. I mean, years have passed, we've got kids, we've got life experiences, but we can't take each other for granted. And that's what happens after all those years. Or there's an issue and then we say things like, it'll be there tomorrow. Or we make an effort to go out and it's, well, I don't really feel that well. Do we have to? We can do it another time. But there's this idea that there's always tomorrow. And hopefully, yes, there's always tomorrow. But when you first started dating your partner, were you guaranteed the second date, the third date, the fourth date? We brought a certain element of joie de vivre, of we brought our A game because we
Yes.
wanted to lock in that next date.
Mhm.
So it's that idea of just bring that back a little bit. So plan the exciting date nights. Ideally, and it would be great if he would plan all of the date nights, but come on, he's not always going to. And there's nothing wrong with us planning it every now and then. And we plan something very exciting, something different from our usual, and then tell him, you know what, your turn next time. Top mine. Many men like a challenge, so give them that one.
Right.
So that's one of the first things that I would recommend. Get back into that sense of planning unique date nights that you really prep and plan for. Put it in your mind, this is going to be something special.
Right.
So
Okay.
another one then is to be complimentary.
Mm.
You might think, well, what does a compliment have to do with anything? Well, what a compliment has to do with anything is that it puts us into a positive mental space. And I remember, I always say the first time I heard this, it was on a podcast. And right after I read something else about the importance of the number 5. So it was, for every one negative interaction, you should
Oh.
have 5 positive interactions.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And that was like a sign of a super healthy relationship. So I mean, I remember looking at that number and I thought to myself, am I getting 5 positive interactions? That's a lot of tallying up to do. But then this number 5 came up again. It was, if you could compliment your spouse 5 times a day, you can save an entire relationship. And I thought, who has time to compliment somebody 5 times a day?
Right.
And I certainly was nowhere near that. But here's the thing though. Aim for the 5. Nothing's wrong with aiming for the 5. We're probably not going to hit it. And if we can hit the 5, fantastic. But the paying compliments, it makes us feel positive about the person that we are with, because in finding those compliments, we're focusing on the positives about that person, the things that attracted us to them to begin with, the things that we respect about them, the things that we admire about them, the things that make us think, oh, I did a good job picking this person. All right. And we have lives. We're not always in the same space. COVID has come and hopefully gone, and we're not we're not necessarily stuck in the same spaces anymore.
Right.
Send a text message, leave a note for them to
Mhm.
find. Those are possibilities. And then there are those who are really struggling to be positive about their relationships. So sometimes I would recommend ask your kids, maybe not the teenagers, they're a little bit different. Ask your younger kids, what are some of the things you like about, your,
Okay.
yeah. So because they can be more forgiving and they will give you quite a few things that they like
Mhm.
by, and you can use that as the basis of your compliments if you are struggling. And this last tip on
Good
that,
idea.
yeah, that it may sound a bit strange, but I'm telling you, I have done it in the past and it works. So if you are in that space where you're really struggling to be positive, tell them the compliment when they are sleeping.
Be like, you did a really good job at, washing the dishes today or something like that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because at that
That
point,
is so funny.
it is. I'm telling you, I have done it. And it wasn't for him, because I mean, obviously he wasn't awake, but it was for me. It was for
Mhm.
me to get myself back into a positive headspace
Mm.
about the person that I loved, the person that I was with.
Yeah.
And yeah, and eventually I was able
Practicing gratitude and really appreciating each other is very
yes,
important.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
everybody wants to feel appreciated. So,
precisely. We wanted to. And the
yeah,
thing is, some of this behavior, when we start doing it and it becomes our regular, it will be reflected back at us because we become a different type of person, a much more
right.
positive person that demands a different type of energy back. And I mean, I always say there are always exceptions, but for if you are in a generally healthy relationship that's just going through a downtime, this is the type of positive change you want to implement because it will have results.
Right.
Not overnight, but it will. All right.
Now, do you only speak with the moms? Like, do you ever speak with the couples together? Or you're really only coaching just the mom?
Really, yeah, only coaching the moms at the moment. I keep trying to get my husband to come along as well. So maybe one day when I have him in too, we will work on the full couple.
That would be great.
I think so. I think so. He has a lot of opinions. I'm like, stop just telling them to me, come and do some work with me.
Mm, that's a great idea. You guys would be the power relationship couple coaches or something. Yeah, great idea.
So do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
All right. So this one was about going to bed at the same time.
Okay.
Now, I think it's not always easy, especially if you're in that stage where you have very young children, toddlers or babies, their sleep patterns do tend to dictate our sleeping schedule. So this is something you have to be very conscious of. And I'll tell you why it's important. Going to bed at the same time, it triggers several things. One, it's that when we start to get ready for bed, what we're doing, we are shedding the day. We're letting go of the stresses of the day. We are also dropping the masks that we wear during the day.
Mhm.
We're entering that kind of vulnerable, safe space that usually is reserved for just our significant others. This is the time where all pretense for the most, I should say, well, most pretense, maybe all, hopefully, is kind of popped. So if we're doing that at the same time, there's physical proximity, but we're also creating that emotional proximity and opening up for connection. And then even like going into bed at the same time, again, physical proximity. So increased opportunities for physical touch, increased opportunities for conversation, more open conversation, because again, you're not distracted by all of the things of the regular day. And then yes, going to bed at the same time increases the opportunity for physical intimacy, which is a very important part of your relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's the thing that makes this relationship different from all your other relationships.
Mhm.
And I don't think it can be overstated that it is important. Connection for women and connection for men can sometimes mean two different things. And women are very much about the mental connection. But for a lot of men, the connection can be very physical. So again, we want to kind of create that space where if we're going to bed at the same time, for women, we can achieve that mental connection, that emotional connection. And for men, they can achieve that physical connection. So it's very important. And again, it's not always easy. So there are a couple of tips around that as well. For example, set your bedtime in advance. So don't rush home at 7 p.m. and you're like, oh, I want to be in bed at 10. It's probably
Right.
not going to happen. You know, when you wake up in the morning, you decide, okay, our day is going to be, do what we have to do. We want to be in bed by 10. You kind of reverse engineer everything to get to that bedtime.
Okay.
Whatever time it is that you may have set. And then another thing is that the reality is kids happen or just sick parents happen. We have things going on. So this may not be able to happen every single night, but make it a priority for it to happen 3 to 4 times a week. And talk to your partner about it. If both of you are working on getting to that space of being able to unwind together, it's more likely to happen. So keep that channel of communication open as well in that regard. So, yeah.
Great advice. I know the question always comes up, should you have a TV in your bedroom or not?
I say not.
Yeah. I had a feeling you would say that.
And it's really funny because earlier on in our marriage, I had a lot more free time. So I would always tell my husband, let's get a TV for the bedroom. And he was the one who was saying, no television in the bedroom. You get distracted enough by enough other things. No television in the bedroom. And then we got older and, so yes, I then began to appreciate the fact that my bedroom was super quiet and that there was no TV in it. And then he was the one who was like, yeah, let's put the TV in because when you're reading your Kindle, I can watch TV. And then I was like, no, we're not falling into that trap. So no, we do not have one. And I strongly recommend you don't have one. And I've even spoken to people from so I know your group is very varied as well, Meryl. So, that the whole trying to limit how much electronics we have in our bedrooms as well.
Yeah.
If possible. I mean, my phone is always next to my nightstand, my alarm clock,
I know, me too.
Yeah. To me, that's already a big distraction.
Mhm.
So, and I keep saying I'm going to get a real old-fashioned alarm clock so that I don't bring my phone next to me, but I'm working on it.
Right. I mean, it's the only phone I have. And if there's an emergency, like with my mother, she's 95, I have to have the phone next to me.
That's it. And that's the same reason my husband has his next to him as well, because you never know. Yeah. And crazy, how nowadays this is the only phone we have. We don't have a house line anymore. Oh, damn.
I know.
Mhm.
Let's see. Well, how can people find you?
Right. So I am on Facebook. So Meryl will have the links as well. You can just click on my name and you can add me as a friend, send me a message. I have a Facebook page called The Language of Relationships. And I also have a Facebook group. It's called Moms, Marriage and Relationships. And it is not necessarily just for moms, and it's not necessarily, you don't have to be married to be in it. It really is just a space that we meet and we chat about different relationship issues, whether it's a new relationship, a more lasting one, should I say a more long-term one. It's just general practices, tips, advice, things that we may not normally think about. What I find a lot of times is that with my clients, they just need a space to kind of bring their thoughts. These are things that they may have had at the back of their mind for years, but what we now have is one space where we can focus on these thoughts, expand these thoughts, and get the sense of urgency to act on them, to make those positive changes. And I also have a date night checklist that I'll share with you, Meryl, that It's ideas for your date night, or ideas how to make your date night something very different, something unique. Because our date nights, we don't have to be the same thing all the time. You know, dinner and a movie is great, but our date nights are not checklist items.
Okay.
They should be something unique. And they don't have to be every week, but just make it an event.
Right. Sounds great. Yeah. So whoever is watching this, you can comment below and Kim will be, able to reply to your comments, or you can reach out to her and I'll put all of your information and links and everything in the description of this video.
Okay.
And any last words for people who are struggling in their relationships?
Yes. So I know very often we talk about alignment and we talk about, what feels right and what feels good. But what I have found is that sometimes, many times, we cannot feel our way into acting. Sometimes we need to act our way into feeling. So that's as simple as starting to make those changes, even though it's hard and we don't want to make it. But if we're waiting for that magical moment when suddenly we feel good about making that change, that may not happen. So act your way. Decide tonight that you are going to say a positive word to your partner. Decide tonight you are going to have a bright smile on your face when they come home. Decide tonight you're not going to bring up one of those issues that you always fight about. Small changes, small actions. But once you start, you've proven to yourself that you can take those positive actions, you will start to feel more in tune with them. And then that will have a ripple on effect into helping you even take even more positive actions.
Right. Great advice. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome, Meryl. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so thank you for everyone who has watched the replay. And again, I will pop the links and all the information that you might need in order to connect with Kim. So signing off for now. We'll see you next time. Bye.